No niin, nyt on taas kuulokkeessa akkua. Ja mä en muista yhtään mitä mun piti tehdä. Aloitetaan tuolta sitten.
I need your... What about the reader of Isa? Do you know about his...
Ha!
Even...
As long as they stay inside.
Have you heard of dead men's pointy boots?
Indeed. It is said that in order to gain advancement to a higher position, the wizards of Unseen University fight a duel to the death armed only with their pointy boots.
Are you sure about that?
As sure as I am of everything.
I'll have to go. Just thought we could have a little chat. Oh, all right then. Make it quick. Have you ever heard of dead men's pointy? No, what is it? Something they mentioned at the university. It's possible that murder was something to do with internal politics. It used to be that the one legal way to get ahead as a wizard was to kill a more senior wizard. Really? I seriously doubt it. I wouldn't suggest that of the Merchants Guild. Why not? They're a bit touchy about that sort of thing at the guilds. No one likes an ambitious person. That's why you've got so many friends, Nobby. I found out about the murder at the university. Really? His name was Mathom, and they found him poisoned in the Widdershin's wing. Tell Vimes. Mr. Vimes? Believe it or not, I want to get to the bottom of this case as much as he does. I don't think anyone could want to get to the bottom of a case more than Mr. Vimes. These are interesting times.
No. Pizza on hyvä tekosyy. Itse piekö, kun mulla eilen oli
I guess I'll see you around, Nobby.
joku idea, mitä tästä lähtee rakentamaan, mutta nyt mä en.
I'm back. I've...
Make...
Can you tell me anything about Mathom's murder?
We don't know nothing.
Thanks for the...
Our pleasure.
Some ale. Mr. Luton. Can you think... Sorry, Mr... What do you... Sorry, Mr... You haven't seen Il... No, I haven't seen the foreign gentleman. I know where he is, but Ilsa seems to have disappeared. I'm sure she'll turn up when you least expect it, Mr. Luton. You're probably right, Samael. What do you... Sorry... You hear a lot of have you heard any?
Oh yeah, I've heard the talk. It's making the custom.
What do they say?
Just you know how.
Well, let me know if... Do you know anything?
Sorry, Miss. Sorry.
What do you...
Sorry, Miss.
What do you know about the goddess Errata?
I wouldn't know.
I couldn't... Do you know what... Do you know anything about...
Sorry, Miss.
Have you heard about the murder?
Sure thing. I was interviewed by the Watch about it.
You? Why?
He was the clerk in charge of the palace stores. He was the one who bought the wine for the palace.
Really? So do you know anything about the murder?
No. Sorry. But there should be someone here from the palace any moment now to collect the next shipment. You could ask them.
I guess I could. But I doubt they'd tell me anything. I heard that a merchant was murdered. You wouldn't know anything about it, would you, Samael?
A merchant? I think you better ask at a less reputable establishment. I could get into trouble suggesting that something was up in the Merchants Guild.
Why?
The cafe is part of the Merchants' Charter.
The Merchants' Charter?
It just means that if we're found to have caused any bad publicity for the city or the guild, they send someone round to smash the windows.
Doesn't that cause bad publicity?
I'd rather not pursue that interesting point.
I didn't want to bother Samael. Does dead men's pointy boots mean anything to you?
I wouldn't know anything about that, Mr. Luton.
Thanks again, Samael.
No problem.
Turning in. Is this a good...
Given that there's never a good...
What do you...
If you asked...
Does dead men's pointy...
No.
I decided not to... It was probably bad enough to have had one in his establishment without me going on. I hear a prominent merchant has been killed. Heard anything about it?
All I heard was that someone in the Merchants Guild got killed. That's all I know.
You wouldn't happen to have heard anything about the murder of...
No one outside of the palace, except the commander of the watch. I heard that the patrician...
Hadn't he already...
Hey, I'm just...
Perhaps he...
What a...
Do these mean anything?
Bandages?
They seem to have plaster caked into them.
No, I don't know anything about that.
Yes, you do. You are the most useless liar I've ever met.
It's nothing to do with me. That's a matter for the watch.
The watch? They're only bandages.
That's all I'm saying on the matter. I don't want no trouble. And they are trouble.
See you around.
Yeah.
Just thought...
Oh, me.
Do these mean anything to you?
Well, it could be the work of a plaster surgeon.
A plaster surgeon?
Yeah, they're cosmetic surgeons for trolls. Some troll's on the run, wants to change his face. Well, he goes to a plaster surgeon. The watch would like to get their hands on any plaster surgeons working in Ankh-Morpork, I can tell you.
Don't you want to know where I got them?
Ah, they're just some plaster-soaked bandages. Why would I be interested?
Nobby, do you ever actually do any detective work?
Well, I'm only a corporal.
I'm beginning to understand how detritus got to be sergeant. Do you recognize...
No.
I guess I'll see you... Let's face it. All I knew about the statue was that it was a working... I could see that some... I was confident the silhouette... I could see... Mind if I ask some...
As long as they're not about...
Do these
I don't know anything.
Do you recognize...
I don't know anything.
Can you tell me anything about Maytham's murder?
I can't help you there.
I hear up at the Unseen University, they talk about dead men's pointy boots.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Really?
Yes, they ask no questions about how a wizard's shoes were emptied.
Operate the same policy here, do you?
What? Hey, what are you implying?
Well, you know. Here you are, stuck on the door. Then a merchant gets killed, leaving a vacancy in the hierarchy.
I did not kill Gaming.
But there aren't any witnesses to that, are there?
There aren't any witnesses at all. He was alone in the guild house when... Oops.
Thanks for the information.
Wait. Don't tell anyone I said anything. They'll lynch me.
I'll keep quiet if you tell me everything you know.
No, I've already said too much.
Well, it was good while it lasted. Now all I had to find out was how Gaiman had been killed. And I had a feeling I wasn't going to learn that here. Well, goodbye.
Tossa olisi kyllä tarvittu kyllä. Se on hyvä, että se olisi saanut jonkun tekstin lisää. Aha, sen kanssa ei pysty juttelemaan.
There were signs of a teal scent on. The scent had a distinct... I have some... Ask. Do these... I prefer to... Does dead man... I prefer to... I asked Mooncalf where he was. He always... Well, I'll be on... I'll be here... The only non-denominational feature in the temple. I'd found the plastering crust. Apart from the fact that they'd been soaked in plaster and left to dry, there didn't seem to... I wasn't about to throw... I wasn't about...
Tosiaan kokonaan tuon
Who would...
tyypin.
Can I see the Count?
I am not in a position to know how good your vision is, but you may see the Count, which I believe is what Sir actually meant in Sir's untutored way.
The Count's health was getting worse. He wasn't making much sense.
Is that you? I knew you'd come for me sooner or later. Is it time? Is it time already? It's been such a long time, hasn't it? We've had fun together, haven't we? Soon enough.
Count?
Soon enough, my dear. Soon enough.
Count? It's Luton.
He cannot hear you.
Yay!
Why not?
It's almost his time.
I've seen some scary things in my time. I've seen men driven mad by money or women. I've seen wars where neither side has known what they were fighting over. I've seen Nobby getting out of the shower, and believe me, that was no picnic. I didn't really discover what terror was until I found myself talking to a 7-foot-high skeleton with a scythe. Your death!
Am I? You know, I wondered why I was carrying the scythe around.
Am I?
Are you what? A selfish, bitter man who has yet to squander his one last chance at redemption?
Am I dead?
No. It's not your time.
I thought you might have missed me the other day when I was stabbed and you've only just got around to me.
I'm famously punctual.
So why are you here?
I've come out for the Count, so to speak.
Oh, well, that's a shame. I was hoping to ask him a few questions.
You seem remarkably calm for one who's just seen the defeater of empires, the swallower of oceans, the thief of years, the ultimate reality, the harvester of mankind, and the assassin against whom no lock will hold. That's me, in case you have trouble with long sentences.
It's been that kind of week. How long has he got?
That depends on you.
On me? I thought our time was allocated by the fates.
It is true that fate is the ultimate master of life and death. But even fate takes a back seat to the laws of narrative causality.
I don't understand.
Really? Who said you were supposed to?
You might give me a clue.
Let's just say that the actions of one person may change the way the whole story is told.
I don't understand.
Don't worry. It'll all become clear to you at the end.
How come you're here?
I came on my horse.
What is it? A skeletal horse whose hooves spark with flames with each step?
No. Just my horse. I call him Binky.
And he's not a skeleton?
He happens to be very well fed and looked after, thank you very much.
No niin just.
I still don't understand why you're here. I mean, you're death. Shouldn't you be everywhere?
I am everywhere.
But you're here.
Yes. As well. Don't try to work it out. Even I don't fully understand it. It involves really complicated numbers.
You turn up like this for everyone?
Generally, I'm only expected to make an actual
Se on pehmeällä
appearance
peellä.
on special occasions.
And this is a special occasion?
Not yet. I've arrived ahead of time. But there's going to be a lot of business in Ankh-Morpork soon, so it doesn't hurt for me to get here a little early.
You wouldn't care to tell me more about this, I suppose?
The immediate future is not a matter on which I propose to enlighten you, no.
How come I can see you? Is it something to do with me being a werewolf?
In a sense. It has much more to do with certain other matters.
Such as?
Ordinarily, I am only perceived by
Se on
those who are
tärkeää.
about to die.
So you are invisible?
Tärkeää
that
tietää,
must
että se on
be useful.
pehmeällä peellä
I'm not
kirjoitetaan.
invisible as such. People just can't see me. They won't allow themselves to do it. Until it's time, of course. Wizards can see me and cats. Odd, really, but there you go.
But I can see you.
Indeed. People in a state of heightened awareness sometimes stop seeing what they expect to see and start seeing what is really there.
Like with Gaspode.
Frankly, I think your seeing me has more to do with your quest for the golden sword.
You know about that?
I've been around. I hear things.
Why should the sword be a factor?
Well, it's more to do with narrative causality, as I said.
It's not really a quest. I mean, I'm just investigating a few murders.
Believe me, I know. I was there.
You mentioned narrative causality before.
Did I? I must be becoming careless.
Why? Aren't you allowed to discuss it?
It's not exactly against the rules. But it might ruin it if I told you.
Ruin what?
The story.
Do these
I cannot help you.
I don't suppose you know anything about mosses.
Moss? Did you say moss plants? Yes, lots of plants here. Can't remember much about them these days. The memory fails. There are books, though. I forget where. Ah, yes, the library's apocrypha. All the books are there, you know.
May I use the library?
Eh? What was that, my boy? The library. Ah, yes, the library's apocrypha. All the books are there, you know. You can use it if it will help your inquiries. How go your inquiries? Have you heard from Regin?
No, not yet.
This room contains the von Uberwald's Libraris Apocrypha. So will, I trust, be careful not to damage any of the priceless tomes housed within.
I'll be careful.
One would be very upset if one was to return to find, sir, perhaps folding paper animals from a priceless folio edition of the Dictionary of Eye-Watering Words.
What are they?
They are books, sir.
I realize that. What are they about?
The Libraris Apocrypha is a collection of obscurities and rare volumes from across the continent. If knowledge were an animal, The libraris would be a great dragon. Sir, by the same scale, would be a kebab on an ant's barbecue.
I'll be careful. Although I wouldn't trust me with all those... The library was the von Uberwald's collection of obscurities. Perhaps I could turn it to my advantage. I grabbed a book from the shelves. Jane's All the World's Siege Weapons. Fascinating stuff. If I was planning to storm a castle and I had the defense budget of a small barony. My hand fell upon the Dictionary of Eye-Watering Words. It lived up to its name. I skimmed through the section of the library that looked the most used. I found a copy of The Joy of Tantric Sex, with illustrations for the advanced student. It raised an interesting question as to which of the von Uberwald household had thumbed the pages so thoroughly. The books were all neatly indexed by a vast series of cards in a wooden case. It looked like the von Uberwalds were using an ancient version of Huey's octal system of indexing. It was complicated, but I reckoned I could at least use it to find out what books they had on a particular subject, and then wander around until I saw a bookshelf with the right number on it. I could mess up the filing system, I suppose, if I wanted the butler to eviscerate me with sarcasm the next time I saw him. A far better plan would be to use the index to look up a book on a particular subject. I found a copy of Orange Crates on the Nature of Plants. The book was a tediously detailed study of the plant kingdom, and one of the most boring things I've ever read. But I found the moss in there. Apparently it was a lycanthrope, a type of animate moss with crude locomotion, found only in the worst sewers in the most decrepit urban areas. Apparently the lycanthrope looked like harmless moss until something to eat walked by. Then they transformed into a deadly lichen and devoured their prey, at least as long as it was small enough. Otherwise, they just clung on for dear life. I checked through the library and found some ancient plans of the city of Ankh. There was an intricate sewer system beneath the city. It must be thousands of years old. It would be in quite a state if it was still around, and as far as I could tell, it would be under the waterline if there wasn't a drought on. Given the rains that we'd had recently, I could only find one section of sewer that might be above water. There was a shallow sewer running from the Magdalen Bridge around the rimward side of the Royal Winter Palace of the Kings of Ankh, now the home of the patrician. I guess the designers weren't allowed to put sewers under the palace grounds, which might have been why the Royal Summer Palace of the Kings of Ankh was a long way from Ankh-Morpork. That and the stench of the River Ankh, anyway. I didn't really know how to look that up. Whatever the coin was, I couldn't find anything about it here. The ancient civic plans from the library led me straight to the sewer's entrance, not far from the Mortland Bridge. A relatively small tunnel was concealed beneath a pile of debris that must have accumulated over the centuries. It looked as if most of the tunnels here were actually still above the water line, or the sludge line, to be more honest about it. I wasn't even sure it really was water. I didn't want to root around in the water. The smell of the Ankh was unbearably strong in the sewer, and it was all I could do to remain conscious.
Niin, että maha pääsee vähän rauhoittumaan.
The trail that I had seen in the cemetery seemed to continue down in the sewers, starting at one of the pipes and disappearing into the passageways. It was almost drowned out by the smell of the Ankh, though. It smelled exactly the same. The trail that I had seen in the cemetery seemed to continue down in the sewers, starting at one of the pipes and disappearing into the passageways. It was almost drowned out. The lair was concealed in one of the sewer's many niches. There was all manner of debris piled up inside the niche. It looked like some kind of nest. I was strongly reminded of what I'd found in the Milka's cargo hold, only this nest seemed bigger somehow. The metal of the pendant glinted amongst the debris. As I stood in the alcove examining the pendant, I felt as if I wasn't alone. It was the same presence I'd felt in the Milka's hold. I could feel the cold touch of death upon me. It was a strangely light touch. Size obviously isn't important, I agree. You are Death, right? Rats have their own death? No offense, I mean, you're very, very intimidating. For a skeletal rat, at least. So, do you come here often? I'm sorry, it's not easy to think of things to say to something like you. Well, it's not often I find myself in the sewers talking to a... What are you exactly? Exactly. So what's your connection to the big guy? You're sort of like relatives then. You probably get together for birthdays and Hogwatch night. I'd like to see
No niin,
that.
totta kai Rolla haluaa siitä.
If you don't mind me asking, were you on the Milka before? I thought so. What were you doing on the Milka? Uh-huh. No, please, go on. Did you see anything? Well, I don't know, anything unusual. Anything else? Yeah, I saw that. And that's here? This is its lair? It can't be very big. That's not very comforting. But I guess that's not your job, but comfort, I mean. I wasn't suggesting you weren't good at your job. I've never looked at it that way before. I couldn't believe it. I was talking to a phantasmal rodent. I hoped he couldn't read my thoughts. He seems easily offended.
Niin, Rolla ainakaan.
So, what's it like being the death of rats? You don't get to talk much, do you? I found this in the nest. Do you know anything about it? It was on the Milka, so this thing brought it here for some reason. I could really use some help, you know. Oh, forget I asked. Do these I Can you think of any reason? What do you know? Do you know a woman? What do you... Do you know anything about... Well, no, it's not the rats that are being murdered. That's fair enough, I suppose. I'll be sure to come to you the first time I am investigating a serial rat killer. Wee Mad Arthur? He's not a serial killer, he's an exterminator. Well, fair point, I suppose.
Mm.
Do you know... What do you... Do you know any gods? Know any human gods? Oh, be pedantic, why don't you? I could... Do you know what... Do you think there's a connection between the creature who made these nests and the beast that killed Malachite and the beast that killed me? Can't you give me a little help? No, I understand. Professional ethics and all. Do you know anything about the murder of one of the patrician's clerks? Well, can you at least give me a hint? I see. Have you heard about the recent murder of a rich merchant? Can you tell me anything about Maytham's murder? I'm trying to find a golden sword. Can you help? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the last time I saw it, when it was sticking out of my ribs. Can you help me find a jewel? Sorry, I forgot. You're a busy entity. Does Dead Men's Point... Well, it was nice meeting you. It's not like that. I have a lot of work to do. You too, huh? I think the debris had outlived its usefulness the moment I... Perhaps I should just get away from the sewer. The magenta scent permeated the niche, stronger even than the smell of the ankh. There weren't many times in life you got to say that. Empty. It always looked much easier. Just a few more. Do either of you recognize this? Is of much familiarness. From where? Near sort being somewhere near. Ha! Yesness. Seal on temple in Alkali. It's the seal on the doors of a temple.
May I see?
Sure. Why not?
Ah, yes, I recognize that. That's from the temple with the intricate door-locking mechanism, isn't it? Quite a marvel of technology for the era it was built, those doors. I was very impressed with them. Now, what was the name of the god it was dedicated to? I can't quite remember.
I know.
I am sure you do, but give me a moment and it'll come to me.
I think he meant it's from the temple of Anu Anu.
Yes, I remember. The Temple of Anu Anu at Al-Khali. A lovely building.
And this is a replica of the seal. Of much sureness. Replica of most exactitude. That might be helpful to know. Thanks. I decided to leave them... I have some more questions.
Miten se nyt saa ulkomaailman yhteyden, kun sillä ei sitä enää ole?
I understand there's a temple of Anu Anu at Al-Khali.
Indeed, one of the finest temples on the Disc.
Then why are you here? Why not worship in your own temple in Al-Khali?
Revengealism.
What's that?
It's where you go out into the community to attempt to convert people to your faith by threatening that something terrible will happen to them if they don't.
Mooncalf wasn't telling me something, but I didn't know what. Logical, I suppose, but unsatisfying. Does this pendant mean anything to you?
It is interesting, isn't it? I don't suppose you could be persuaded to donate it to the cult of Anu Anu.
I doubt it.
A shame. That would probably be worth 20% of your recommended daily intake of salvation.
Well, I'll be
here should you... Did I tell you that we're giving away free tea time?
I need your help again, Malaclips.
That...
Have you heard of the temple of Anu Anu at Al-Khali?
So, interested in comparative religion, are we, Luton? Or perhaps you're an archaeologist?
Given their propensity to smash open sacred monuments, loot them of everything of value, and generally desecrate sacred places everywhere, archaeologists are about as popular with priests as atheists. Mind you, in a world where gods are bad-tempered and damn good shots with a lightning bolt, nobody likes an atheist either. Do you recognize this pendant?
It is an ambiguous Puzuma talisman.
What does it do?
It keeps away ambiguous Puzumas.
Does it work?
I don't see any Puzumas around here, do you?
Huh, I walked right into that, didn't I? I'll have to. The truth is out there.
Trust no.
Who would...
I'd like... Is she...
I will go and announce...
You're up late.
I can never sleep after I've been stabbed to death.
What did you want to talk about?
Have you heard of the Temple of Anu Anu at Al-Kali?
I'm sure you can...
Does Dead Men's Pointy...
I'm sure you...
Do you know anything about...
No, I don't.
Have you heard about the recent murder of a rich merchant?
Sorry, Luton. I'm not an expert on...
Can you tell me anything?
No.
Do you recognize this?
No, I have never seen it before.
Do these...
I'm sure...
I'll be in...
Who would say...
I'd like to...
Very well.
There were books on jewelry, but I couldn't find the pen. I did get the idea that the design of the pendant might match something else, though. Finding a book on swords wasn't as difficult as I thought. I even found a tome on gold blades. 1001 Golden Swords, the complete story of gold swords throughout history. Unfortunately, it wasn't very helpful. None of the books on jewels or antiquities I could find said anything about a gold-plated jewel. I couldn't write off the possibility that there was something in the library that I hadn't managed to find, though. If I knew what it was called, it'd be easier. I altered one of the subjects on the board, switching the Great Nev for Al-Kali. Now all I had to do was see if anyone took the bait. I was pretty sure I'd learned to... was pretty... There was nothing in any of the books about that. I guess the rumors about the students were... They did... What? A cult monster full of myth. The theory of lost temples of the... There was nothing in... I'd found the pendant in the sewers. How it got there was... But there was no obvious clasp. The pendant was ornately designed, and it looked as if it might... But there was no...
Who would...
Can I see the Count?
I am not in a position...
Still here.
In a sense.
Have you heard about the recent murder of a rich merchant?
Of course.
You were there?
Well, yes. I have to be. But this is very irregular.
Of course. You know about all these murders, don't you? I mean, you're basically an accessory after the fact. Or possibly before the fact.
Young man, I am the fact.
Well, tell me everything you know.
Are you sure? It would take millions of years.
I meant about this case. We could stop anyone else from being killed.
No. Absolutely not. You can't expect me to be a witness in a murder inquiry. I'm going to take the fifth.
The fifth what?
No one ever says what fifth. They just take it. And I'll have the 6th, 7th, and 15th through 23rd, just to be on the safe side.
So you won't tell me anything?
Oh, lots of things. I like to talk to a man who likes to talk.
But you won't tell me anything about the murders?
I will not. Supposing that caught on. You think I want to spend every day in a witness box?
Even though Death said he wouldn't tell me anything, I had a suspicion that I might be able to learn something if I could just strip him up. I'd have to be careful, though. The last thing I wanted was to get Death upset with me. He's not a guy you want as your enemy. Can you tell me any...
I already told you that I could not discuss the...
Is there anything you'd like to tell me about the murder of the patrician's clerk?
Only that he was a lot less tiresome than you and didn't have such a colorful vocabulary.
Do you know anything...
I already told you that...
Well, goodbye. I'm sure...
Oh, you can be certain. Incidentally, I rather like your hard-boiled monologues.
You do?
Oh, yes.
Mm.
And of course, the way you can actually think out of the corner of your mouth. Very impressive.
I didn't know I was doing it.
Oh, yes. Take that, you doity rat. Wonderful stuff. Very entertaining. You know, sometimes I've wondered if I should take the scythe around in a violin case. It would certainly add to the atmosphere of menace and uncertainty.
Really?
Of course, I don't play the violin. And I can't talk out of the corners of my mouth. It's a great shame.
I had a long wait, but it paid off. The storeroom was filled with boxes of food and supplies. I guess even the patrician had to eat every now and then. I couldn't think of anything useful to do with the boxes. The wine barrels had allowed me to break into the palace. It didn't speak too highly of the palace's security, but I wasn't complaining. The scent of red wine wasn't as strong as in the cellar, but it was still noticeable. My killer had definitely been here. I guess they didn't have an open door policy. Locked. I guess they didn't. The door was... I thought I could make out voices, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. There were people talking behind the door.
Oh, it's a terrible state. I don't know how he puts up with it. Oh, I know, dear, I know. Just because they're prisoners doesn't mean they shouldn't keep their rooms clean. It's shocking. Absolutely shocking. And those ones that are chained up, they're the worst. They think because they get special treatment, they don't have to tidy up. Nobody thinks of us cleaners, do they, dear? Perish the thought.
All in all, it wasn't the most useful conversation I could have overheard. Silence. Perhaps I should try a different door. The only noticeable scent in the hallway was someone's trail which led to the double doors. What was Commander Vimes doing in the palace? As a wolf, my hearing was dramatically improved. I could recognize one of the voices as Commander Vimes, and the other voice had the calculating tones of Lord Vetinari, the patrician of Ankh-Morpork.
Are you any closer to a solution for our mutual problem?
No, sir. I've been occupied.
Indeed. And what could occupy you?
There was a string of copycat killings. I've been trying to solve them.
And have you?
No. My lead suspect was killed.
That is very unfortunate.
It certainly was for Luton.
So there has been no progress in determining who killed Cypher.
Not as such.
I had been given to understand that this was precisely the situation you were well equipped to handle.
I will solve this case, sir. You can count on me.
Do you recall what I said the city reminds me of?
You said it reminds you of a clock, sir.
Indeed. Big wheels and little wheels, all turning at different speeds to keep the machine working. That, after all, is the most important thing. The machine keeps going.
You've told me this before.
Do you know why it keeps working?
Because you want it to keep working?
I'm flattered that you think I have such importance. But no, it keeps running because the people believe it will keep running. Faith is a powerful force.
There is a point to this, sir?
I always have a point. Sometimes it's sharper than others.
I'm sorry. Continue.
One of my clerks has been found face down in a vat of wine, and that makes it appear as if the administration has lost control.
And the administration is me, right?
We are all the administration. You do the work, and I take both the credit and the blame. Provided I do not take the blame, I am content. I trust I make myself clear.
Perfectly.
Suddenly I could smell blood. It filled up my senses like a night in a forest. Except a night in a forest didn't make me want to tear someone's throat out. I didn't know whether the guard had cut himself or if I was just developing a healthy bloodlust, like any young werewolf. But I couldn't control myself. The next thing I knew, I was in my office. I had no idea how I got there, how I got my coat out of the palace, or where I'd got a traffic cone from. It had been that sort of night. I was sitting at my desk, thinking over the case, when there was a knock at the door.
I understand you've been a busy boy, Luton.
It's a busy life when you're a private investigator. Plus, you get to see interesting foreign places and learn a trade.
There was a commotion at the palace last night. Perhaps you know about it?
What goes on at the palace has nothing to do with me.
Indeed it is not. And if, for some reason, you did take an interest in the palace, I'm sure you would not be so foolish as to be caught breaking into the palace.
Of course not. Think I'm suicidal?
Strange you should say that. I heard you'd been killed.
I expect you hear a lot of things that aren't true. I bet someone has to explain them to you using very small words.
The thing is, the intruder at the palace appears to have been a werewolf.
There's a lot of that around this time of year, I understand. Must be the moon.
I paid my respects to your grave.
Oh, that was nice of you.
It was empty.
Oh, you know how it is. I get claustrophobic in narrow spaces.
So do werewolves, perhaps?
I wouldn't know about that.
Remember when I said how disappointed I was that I couldn't take you out for free?
Oh, that was a very touching sentiment.
Well, Lord Vetinari has generously offered to pay for the inhumation of last night's intruder.
He has a big heart.
It's a shame no one can find it.
Was there a point to your visit?
I was just passing through. Thought you might benefit from my advice.
How generous of you.
Well, I'll be on my way.
The door's behind you. I can explain how to use it if you want.
Watch your steps, Luton. I will be.
The cloud definite. There was a faint haze of purple in the room. The purple scent was quite distinctive. I'd know it if I smelled it again. Just thought we could have a little chat.
Oh, all right then. Make it quick.
I found out about that Clark cipher. He was drowned in a vat of wine.
If you say so. Lucky for some, eh?
I guess I'll... I was pretty sure I'd learned all I was going to... I tried to write on the octarin board with the chalk. The chalk marks were invisible. The octarin board, a few... Carl... I was pretty sure... A copy of frescoes and fatal traps of the temples of Alkali miraculously appeared after I changed the octarin board. I guess the students took their studies more seriously than I thought, but fortunately they still didn't have much idea what it was they were studying most of the time. I had a feeling I wasn't going to get away. The pendant's design matched the one in the book for the seal of the temple of Anu Anu at Alkali. The temple was famed for its intricate door mechanism, and the book described how to manipulate the seal to open the temple doors. I used the same method on the pendant, and it opened with a faint click. Inside was a small piece of paper with names on it. One name leapt out at me. Therma. I decided to keep the list to myself. I'd found a list of 8 names in the pendant. The name that stood out was Therma's.
Kuka on Supermiss?
The names on the list were Mooncalf, Satrap, Therma, Coom, Gelid, Warb, Foyd, and Kondo. Some I recognized. Some were strangers to me. The question was, what did they have in common? Why did someone have a list of their names, and how did they get it into the pendant? I have some more questions.
Ask them, if you must.
Nyt mä tajusin. Joo.
I wasn't about to reveal that I had the list, but perhaps I could use... Someone told me that you know Therma.
Indeed. And who might that have been?
It's not important. Is she part of your cult?
No. No, she's not.
But you know her.
No, I've never met her.
I see. What about Satrap?
Are you intending to bore me with a list of people's names? I haven't time for this tomfoolery. I must preach the gospel of Anu Anu.
Thy kingdom Coom and all that.
Yes, indeed.
I'd clearly unsettled him mentioning Coom. Now I just needed to sit back and watch what he got up to. Well, I'll be
here should you...
There were two silhouettes at the window. One was definitely Mooncalf. The other looked like a troll. This was the... There were two silhouettes...
And I think we may have to do something about it. We will have a meeting of the true believers after this evening's sermon.
Sure thing, boss. You want I should go now?
No. You keep an eye on Luton if you can. I'll go back to the sanctuary and leave a message for the others.
You got it, boss.
I'd overheard something interesting at the window of the Temple of Small Gods. Something about a meeting of the true believers. I didn't... I need your... I overheard Mooncalf talking about a meeting of the true believers. I'd really like to know what that was about.
It's tough to find out what the cult of Anu is up to.
Is there any way I could listen in to one of Mooncalf's sermons?
The sermons don't take place here. They hold them in the inner sanctum.
The inner sanctum?
It's the center of worship here in the Temple of Small Gods.
How come? I mean, there are a vast number of gods and goddesses that the temple has to provide for. Are you telling me they all have to share one room for the services?
Absolutely. High priests are always complaining that so-and-so was hogging the sanctum all morning, or that such and such left hair at the bottom of the holy font. It causes a lot of tension around the temple.
Can you get me in there? I'd like to have a look around.
I could arrange to have the sanctum for a while if I told them I had a follower, but I don't.
So if I agree to be your follower, you can get us into the inner sanctum?
Yes, I can. But you wouldn't really be my follower. The followers of Errata don't follow each other. We don't even follow Errata. We follow our own ways.
So why is there a Church of Errata at all?
You're learning, Luton. Keep thinking like that and you'll go far in the church.
So can you get me into the inner sanctum?
I can, provided we can find a time when the cult of Anu aren't there.
Are Mooncalf's lot in there often?
All the time. And that's not all either. He sneaks away after each one. I think they've got a secret sanctuary somewhere.
I'd like to find that.
Actually, I'd quite like you to find it too.
Can't resist a secret, eh?
No, I'd just like to get in the way of everything Mooncalf does. Him and his big evangelical budget and hordes of out-of-tune followers singing and chanting at all hours of the day. He's gonna get his comeuppance, and anything I can do to speed it up suits me fine.
So you'll help me?
Wait here. I'll go and make the arrangements.
It took a while, but eventually Malaclips got me into the inner sanctum. Malaclips stayed by the door to warn me if anyone was coming. With a... There were small stained glass windows in the inner sanctum depicting the story of how a valiant mortal, pure and gentle, was cruelly tricked, taunted, and tortured by the gods. Just for a laugh.
Kyllä.
There wasn't much I could do to the windows. The inner sanctum sported a beautiful lectern. The plaque said it was donated to the temple by Mr. Fedean, of the militant servitors of Ikebana, goddess of topiary. Searching, I discovered there was a cavity in the base of the lectern. The space under the lectern was large enough to fit a whole person inside. Unfortunately, there wasn't much room to move inside. And to my embarrassment, I got stuck.
Luton! They're coming! Hide!
I'm way ahead of you, Malaclips.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered together in the sight of our God, Anu Anu, to speak of our devotion to the Anointed One at this, our time of need. But before today's sermon, I'd like to read from the cult bulletin for a moment. Firstly, there's a jumble sale next Saturday to raise funds to buy a fresh goat to sacrifice. We'd appreciate it if as many cultists as possible could attend. We don't want to have to sacrifice another pigeon. It hardly befits the deity of the illustrious wonder of Anu Anu to be sacrificed another of Mrs. Jerboam's gerbils either. Yes, I know they breed like flies, but that's not the point.
The sermon was one of the most tedious things I'd ever had to listen to. And as if
Voi
that
voi,
wasn't bad
kerpiiden
enough, then
uhraamista.
the hymns started. Why the gods wanted to listen to such droning monotony was a mystery to me, but I suspected they just liked to make the mortals suffer. The temptation to sink something sharp into Mooncalf's feet was getting very hard to resist. I couldn't see how hitting Mooncalf's foot. I was going to have to be careful what I did to Moon. I tried to follow Mooncalf, but he moved quickly and his scent was rapidly swallowed up by the stench of the Ankh. I need your... I need to get back...
Nah, I'll...
Of... I sprayed Mooncalf's feet with Sapphire's trawl perfume. That should make the little psychopath a little easier to follow. Sapphire's perfume cut through the stench of the river like a trawl wading through a dwarf street rally. The bright reek led into the shades, the oldest and most dangerous part of the city. As a wolf, I listened to what the so-called true believers were saying through one of the windows of the sanctuary.
Greetings, brethren. I call to order this extraordinary general meeting of the secret cabal of the true believers of Anu Anu.
You smell nice tonight, boss.
What?
What is that? KC2?
What are you blathering about, Foyd? Anyway, I see we're all present.
Therma not present, boss.
Therma has to keep a low profile at the moment. Do not concern yourselves with her absence.
Why should Therma have such special status? I have important business of my own to be doing, and these interruptions aid no one.
Quiet, satrap. Mooncalf wouldn't have called us together if it wasn't important.
Indeed not. There is an investigator, a Mr. Luton, who's been asking worrying questions. I think he may know about Nylonathotep.
I do now. I still say this is
madness.
There must be a better way to glorify our beloved Anu without taking such risks.
You always were the spineless one, Coombe.
Silence, Kondo. As chairman, I will not permit such disputes when the meeting of true believers has just been called to order.
When can we have a dispute?
It can wait until we reach any other business.
Damn.
Shh! What is it?
I heard something outside.
They say bravery is what tells the men from the boys. Well, I was a wolf, so I figured I could be brave and still run away. Mooncalf's cultists had mentioned Nylonathotep, but at first I didn't know what it meant. For some reason, the cultists had a map of Ankh-Morpork in the sanctuary. I couldn't easily take the map, but I could use it to work out some things. The sanctuary was decorated with a strange and disturbing fresco. Closely examining the fresco, I could see that one of the symbols made a frequent appearance. The recurring symbol on the fresco was like a distorted star with an eye in the center. I wasn't sure what it was. I made a sketch of the symbol in my notebook. The map couldn't... I wanted to find out what the strange symbol in the sanctuary meant. The scent of the troll perfume blotted out everything else in the sanctuary. I need your help.
There?
Heard of Nylonathotep?
Shh! Do not say that name so loudly.
Why not?
There are some names you simply do not wish to speak without taking proper precautions. No, don't say that word to me ever again.
Does this symbol mean anything to you?
Yes. But I had best not discuss it with you.
Why not?
I don't want anyone who's listening in to know I know what it is.
That doesn't help me much.
I can't tell you everything, Luton.
I'll have to... The truth.
Try.
Who would... I'd like to use the... Very well. The Necrotelecomnicon was a book that legend spoke of, saying that any mortal man who read it would be driven insane. I learnt about it from a copy of Necrotelecomnicon discussed for students with practical experiments that I found in the library. In this tome, there is a description of the old dark gods of the Disc, including the terrible laddering holler, Nylonathotep. Apparently, Nylonathotep was once summoned by a series of 8 murders, forming a perfect octagram, focused at the center of the Circle C, thus releasing it from the sunken city of Leshp, where he was trapped, along with drunken Cthulhu Bapalulu. The book speculated about the whereabouts of Nylonathotep now, but beyond him being safely imprisoned somewhere around the Circle C, it drew no conclusions.
Känninen Cthulhu.
In the past, an octagram of murders had been involved in summoning Nylonathotep. I found the obscure star-like symbol in the Necrotelecomnicon discussed for students. It called it the sign of the eel, or the Elver sign. It was apparently a protective ward against some of the older, darker gods of the Discworld. The tome also explained how to inscribe one, the order of tracing being very important. Not that I believed any of this mumbo-jumbo, but hey, you can't afford to be too careful, right?
Se on jotenkin kiva, että tämän tyyppi kirjastosta löytyy Necronomicon ihan tosta noin vaan.
The symbol I'd found in the sanctuary was the ancient Elver sign, which apparently was a ward against the old dark gods of the Discworld. I looked up the octagram of murders in the library, but I could only find the entry I'd already seen.
Who would...
Can I see the... I am not... Still here, I see.
In a sense.
Have you heard of the goddess Errata?
A goddess?
Yes. Yes, she was.
I always liked your mother.
That's why I married her, I suppose.
Is he...
Dead? No. You'll know when he dies.
How?
I will swing my scythe.
Do you have to do that?
No. But when I appear in person, I am required to separate the soul from its body.
Why?
It has symbolic value.
Do you know Errata?
The goddess of misunderstandings. Yes.
What's she like?
Chaotic and confusing. But she has a certain sense of justice, I think.
Justice?
All the gods are sentimentalists at heart. Of course, I never let that sort of thing get in my way.
Neither the Count nor Death seemed likely people to... Neither the...
Mä olisin kyllä halunnut kuulla niitä kuolemaista.
Goodbye. I'm sure we'll meet again.
Oh, you can be certain of it.
Who would...
I'd like... Is she...
I will go now.
You can't keep yourself...
I just wanted to... Have you heard of Nylonathotep?
No. What is...
Never mind. until I was sure I could trust her, and frankly, I'll be... If there was an octagram of murders taking place in the city, it might help to find out exactly where each murder took place. I knew where Malachite, Mundy, and Reagan had been killed, but the triangle didn't seem to suggest anything useful. I knew precisely where 4 murders had taken. I had found the precise location of 5 murders. I needed to know more. The murders were marking out a perfect octagram, just like the one that had been used to free Nylonathotep from sunken Leshp centuries ago. If I was right, there would be 2 more murders, one in Dagon Street and one in the Wizard's Pleasance. If I knew which one was next, I could stake it out. In the center of the octagram was the Disc Theater, which almost certainly meant some kind of cosmic evil was entombed there. I can't say I was enthusiastic at the thought of checking it out.
Dagon Street. Nyt menee niin jännäksi, että nyt voi hyvin lopettaa.